I'd like to call to order the April 16th, 2019 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order and start with roll call, starting from my left, Pouch Patel,
Brenda Hampstead,
Todd Chernick,
Jason Cole,
Don Kurt,
Kim Keller.
For the record, Ken Sisson is not in attendance this evening. If you'd please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, would make a motion to approve this evening's agenda as published. Do I have a second?
second.
A motion and a second to adopt this evening's agenda as published. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passed unanimous. I'd also make a motion on item number 5 to approve our March meeting minutes as published by the city.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the March meeting minutes? For those of you who weren't in attendance in March, you're not obligated to vote, obviously. All those in favor approving the March meeting minutes say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Don Kurt and Kim Keller abstained as they were not in attendance. Motion passed. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial board comprised of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determination. With regard to decisions on primary variances, which we'll be hearing tonight, the board's basis for decision is provided by these 4 considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance, and B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to the size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good in surrounding properties. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. Item number 6 is our primary variance, starting with case V19-001, 13725 Providence Road. Would staff please introduce this application?
Yes. Petition number V19-001, 13725 Providence Road. The requested variances are to allow remodeling and addition to existing residence in the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-426, section 1 and 2. And the second variance is to allow a pool inside the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-426, subsection 1 and 2. The background: the site is a 6.4 acre lot located on the corner of Providence Road and Cowart Road. It is zoned AG1 and is located in the rural Milton overlay. The property includes an existing single-family home and outbuildings. This request was originally heard at the March 19, 2019 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. After the applicant's presentation and the board's deliberation, the board recommended to defer the item to the next scheduled meeting to allow the applicant to provide an elevation of the renovated house facing Providence Road. The applicant originally proposed to remodel, make additions to the existing house, construct a new pool and pool house, and remove the outbuildings. The existing house is currently located in the state 25-foot and 50-foot stream buffer. The applicant has removed the pool and pool house entirely from the site plan. The barn is currently located in the 75-foot impervious setback, which is proposed to be removed. These changes are reflected in the revised site plan received by the Community Development Department on April 12, 2019. Based upon the site plan, the applicant is proposing to only build on the current footprint of the existing house. Furthermore, the proposed addition will be located completely outside of the 75-foot impervious setback and 50-foot stream buffer. In addition, the applicant has submitted an elevation of the renovated house, which is included in this report. The city architect has indicated his support of the design and is consistent with the rural character of the area. Section 20-426, subsection 1 states that an undisturbed natural vegetative buffer shall be maintained for 50 feet, measured horizontally. Part 2 states an additional setback shall be maintained for 25 feet beyond the undisturbed natural vegetative buffer, in which all impervious cover shall be prohibited. Grading, filling, and earth movement shall be minimized within the setback. Based on the revised site plan received on April 12, 2019, the applicant proposes to remodel the existing house and therefore requires a variance to encroach into the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. Since the applicant has removed the pool and pool house, staff recommends that the variance to allow the pool and pool house to encroach into the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback to be withdrawn. And on March 5th, 2019, the DRB offered the following comments. The location of the proposed driveway is dangerous. However, the applicant did work with the Public Works Department, and that is changed on the revised site plan. The staff held a focus meeting on March 6, 2019, and updated on April 12, 2019, at which the following comments were provided. The site plan review manager, Melissa Brandon, stated that no comments based on the revised site plan submitted on April 12, 2019. The architect, Robert Buscemi, supports the submitted design of the renovated existing house and the removal of the pool and pool house based on the revised site plan submitted on April 12, 2019. Arborist Sandra DeWitt said the proposed addition may impact a specimen tree based on the revised site plan submitted on April 12, 2019. Transportation, Sarah Leader said the revised site plan submitted on April 12th reflects the requirement to remove the driveway to Providence Road. And Stormwater and Engineering, Ken Kagi, said the new finished floor elevation must be 3 feet above floodplain and cannot fill or grade in the floodplain. And the standards for consideration, as the chairman did touch on earlier, the staff response is the intent of the ordinance is to protect the health of the stream. The applicant has removed the pool and pool house from the stream buffers. The applicant has also moved the addition out of the stream buffers. The house was originally built before the 50-foot buffer and 75-foot impervious setback were in place. The proposed areas for a pool and pool house were taken off the site plan by the applicant. The need for the variance will be for the renovation of the existing house, with the proposed additions to be outside the stream buffers. The proposed renovation of the house will be in the 75-foot impervious setback and 50-foot stream buffer. The proposed addition to the house will be out of the stream buffers and will not cause any substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And the proposed addition and renovation to the house, the public safety, health, and welfare is secured and substantial justice is done. And staff recommendations. Staff recommends approval with conditions to allow the existing / remodeled house to encroach within the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-426, subsection 1 and 2. Also, staff recommends withdrawal of these requests to allow a pool inside of the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-426, subsection 1 and 2. The recommended conditions, should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions to allow the existing / remodeled house to encroach into the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-426, subsection 1 and 2. These conditions are per the revised site plan stamped April 12, 2019 by Brumbelow, Reese and Associates. Cannot do any work inside of the floodplain. The renovated house shall be the same size and location of the existing house within the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback.
Are there any questions for staff?
Essentially, since last month, the pool and the pool house have been taken off. Is that correct? And that the new addition is not getting into the setback? In the old,
That is
the old
yes.
version, it was.
Correct.
Okay,
And they've made some adjustments on the driveway.
on the driveway. So now it comes off Providence versus Cowart? before?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, with that, I'll open the floor to Mr. Reese here to speak on behalf of the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese from Brummel Reese & Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing Crabapple Ventures in their application for the variance to reconstruct an existing residence inside the 50-foot City of Milton stream buffer and the 75-foot impervious setback. I'm not sure if you're aware, but one of the nuances of the City of Milton code is that if you remodel more than 50%, i.e. in cost or degree of construction, it is considered new construction. So that being said, this has to be treated as new construction, so our grandfathering of the encroachment into the buffer technically goes away. So we have met with the applicant. We have massaged and pulled and jerked and moved. We've removed the pool house. We have shrank the footprint of the new addition and probably, depending on health department approval, lost a bedroom. But the applicant is determined, well, he purchased the property, he owns it, he doesn't have a whole lot of choices. So I listened distinctly at the last meeting. So we have done everything that we possibly can to make this site work. You will notice the shape of the property gives us very little leverage or movement as far as the location of the addition. We have met with Roddy Moats out on the site, tied down the driveway, moved it around, so all the new construction will be outside of any of the constrained property. The area inside the constrained property will sit in the footprint of the existing structure. So that being said, we feel like we have met the caveats of demonstrating a hardship. We can't move the existing residence from where it was constructed. We're very limited on our building areas with, especially with our need for initial and reserve septic field and the shape and topography of the lot. Listening to the conditions, there are none that give us any pause or any reflection. We're fully aware of staying out of the floodplain. We have no desire to build a house lower than the recommended height on flood elevations. We have hired an independent arborist. We're doing everything we possibly can, including vertical mulching and pruning of the existing specimen tree. We do have to work with the existing location of the residence, but it is our intent to save the tree. So I will entertain any questions. I don't know if you've seen, I have multiple pictures, site plans, anything. I'm not really aware of exactly what's in your packet, but if there's anything you don't, I hope you've got a picture of the existing residence, the proposed front elevation. I apologize, but my applicant is not willing to completely spend on a full set of architectural drawings and be denied on that.
The sketch is helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Is that something that you have electronically to
The
show?
sketch?
Yes.
Yes.
Even though we may not have public physically here, they're likely viewing online. And I did have a couple questions regarding the site elevations that you provided.
Okay, I am having a hard time finding. Cody, you know where it went?
Oh, hold on. Is that better?
It was over here.
Sedgwick when it got dropped in that. So if you go to Sedgwick, I don't know why I did it, but yeah, he has no time.
Okay, so
I'm asking.
this did not reproduce the best. Hopefully you can see two-story front elevation. This is the existing residence, the hip-roofed brick ranch, circa 1950. And
So you're proposing to maintain the existing footprint of the existing structure,
that is correct.
okay? With the front entrance door, it looks like there's a walkway that may come down to a driveway. Is that envisioned, a driveway there?
That driveway is existing.
Is that envisioned to remain?
Yes.
It is. Okay. My other question was regarding the site plan itself and the location of the existing septic.
Yes.
I believe from our earlier meeting last month, you're looking to maintain a reserve location off to the.
Yeah, the existing system is across the stream, being east of the existing residence and the proposed. Our intent is to provide area on to the west of the proposed structure for a reserve system. We have approval for use of the existing, but the change in the location, so I cannot guarantee that I'm not going to have to go on the other property over there with reserve. But that's a Fulton County Health Department problem, and we will address that problem.
Is the current existing septic field located on this site plan? I see the pipe.
No, you see the pump and the pipe, but once it's put underground, there's not really any way, and there's not a sketch per se from Fulton County that gives me a real good feel for where it is. So it's across, as you'll see a pump chamber and a pipe. So it's across the stream, and it can't be in the, it's the health department rules are that it can't be within a certain distance of the stream. So, and it was an approved system, so it's somewhere beyond the stream on the eastern side.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Once they're put in, there's just, unless you go and dig them up, there's, and it was not installed by my applicant. It was the prior owner.
Right. Okay. Those are my questions. Any other questions?
Well, just along the same lines, I was thinking the same thing here. So if I heard what you said, then the existing septic is adequate even with the new?
Yes. So
you won't be digging it up? You won't be
So, no, I apologize. I guess in our prior meeting, this property and one of its ramifications was a dog boarding, daycare, grooming facility. And just with my background with septic systems, dog hair and septic systems are anathema. So in that rendition some 2 or 3 years ago, the existing septic system failed, and a brand new one was installed at that time to handle a kennel per se. So it is, we have health department approval. They have enough records to know that it will more than adequately satisfy the needs.
With the new addition?
With the new additions. Now, we may be losing a bedroom, but either way, it's adequate for what we're doing.
Thank you. Mr. Reese, can you pull the site plan up for the same reason, just so that folks have the ability to see what we're seeing?
I apologize. Somehow or other, we've got a technical difficulty in we do not have, I have the old one.
Oh, electronically?
Yeah, so if we can get.
Oh, you have it?
Here,
Okay,
there.
all right.
Just got to make it work.
This is existing,
You might have to bend it a little bit or something.
Okay, so I'm going to try to kind of maneuver this. So I'm starting at the westernmost corner. Okay, so this is our new proposed driveway location approved by the City of Milton Transportation Department. Coming in, this is the new proposed residence. As you'll see, this dash line is the 75-foot impervious setback. The next line over is the 50-foot Milton setback, and the one inside is the state buffer. So what is hatched here is the existing brick residence. And the proposal is to reconstruct on this exact footprint the residence that we saw the schematics on earlier, and then have a breezeway connection, or I'm sorry, a hallway connection to this new garage master suite. So.
And there's the pump.
There's the pump and the pipe demonstrating the flow for the system. That's the only above ground visible evidence I have for that utility.
I noticed there's been a demolition permit that's been issued, and the home as of today is demolished.
That it was not as of yesterday. So.
Yeah, I noticed it on the way over here. I was a little bit taken aback by that. And it appears there's a fair amount of intrusion into the buffer with dumpster containers. So we're not here to judge on that.
Yes.
But as you have a lot of experience in working with this board in particular, do you foresee any issues with a condition of a temporary fence along the 50-foot buffer during construction?
Outside the limits of construction for the residents.
For the intrusion
yes,
of the actual
right.
residents.
That we can work on. That we can. There was a demolition site plan and permit, and there was a City of Milton inspection. So absolutely. We took down structures inside the buffer. So I do know that there would have been disturbance. We could not remove structures inside the buffer without that.
And understood. And you're going on record, and I think we all are trying to be clear that this was done according to the book. Any issues with replanting and revegetating in that area according to the direction of the city arborist?
I don't foresee a huge amount there. I mean, it would be with the applicant and the arborist in there. As of now, there is very little vegetation in that. And, we understand that, that we will be maintaining in there. But as far as, I would say it would be between the city arborist and the applicant that they will come to a happy medium in there.
As is customary, stormwater mitigation, given the circumstances and the size of the structures that are going in its place.
We understand that flow wells there will be, as I'm sure you're aware, once this is approved, if it's approved, we'll have to submit a individual site plan that details the limits of disturbance how the stormwater will be maintained, everything that's pertinent to allow construction on this site. And it will be to City of Milton standards and will have to be signed off by staff.
Can you speak to the intent that the applicant may have regarding the remaining? If someone were to look at this property, they'd say, wow, this is a 6-acre property. Why are we trying to shoehorn this? We know, and you've described it, the staff has described it, it's an existing structure, and we're looking to build in the existing footprint.
That is correct.
Is there any intent to build other structures, other homes, and subdivide the property?
That I cannot speak to directly. I do know that, as any other resident of the City of Milton, that he has the ability to use his property as he sees fit. But I do not know of any. I do know that with the constraints on the property with the stream and the accessibility of that other property, there would be no more than 2 houses at the absolute max that could be created. And I can't address any future, and me trying to say what his life circumstances are going to be in 5 years or 10 years or any other point in the stretch. I couldn't make that prediction. But I do know the constraints are such that it's not a major subdivision is prohibitive there.
Right. One concern that was raised, what I believe last time, was regarding subdividing and the impact that we would have in the overall stream in the site.
Yeah, and I think everyone would be aware that any new construction would have to be outside of the buffers. This one, the hardship is the existing structure and the location and working around that. Any new would have to, work. You would have to demonstrate a non-self-imposed hardship. So.
Okay. The last item that I had on my checklist was regarding any neighbors and any neighbor conversations of support.
We do not have any letters of support. We spoke with people. And as far as I know, the city has not received any complaints or any negative associated with it. As you are well aware, it was advertised, and the adjoining property owners were contacted about this, and we haven't had. Typically, if you're for it, you don't care. If you're against it, you show up or send emails, has been my experience.
Okay. Brenda, you have a question?
Yeah. So the requested variance is to allow remodeling in addition to the existing residence, which has now been demolished, right? So does that change this whole application to a brand new construction?
That was, we had multiple discussions with the city, and when you say demolished, I think my understanding that the slab or the infrastructure in under the structure was just remain, but
it's all gone.
Well,
we're down to dirt now.
Okay. Well,
but it is carved out in the footprint. I mean, you can still see the remnants of the footprint, but there is no slab in the basement.
So it sort of changes the application as well. I mean, because it's not a remodel or a renovation anymore. It's a brand new construction.
I mean, if everything is gone, then it would be. I mean, I can't.
I might ask the city architect or city attorney for their opinion on that, given that the city issued the demolition permit.
Yeah, I mean, and we came in because of we found some structural flaws that we knew our plan was going to change, but my last notice was that so the concrete slab, everything, there is nothing there. Okay, that's
As of 45 minutes ago.
Okay, but we knew that we had more structural problems than we had first encountered when the architect got in deeper. And that's when we contacted Bob, and we originally came in and got permission to demo everything except the structure. And we saw, when I say the structure, the residence itself. So when we knew that we were going to be a major renovation, we went back before the DRB with the blessing of the city to get a demolition permit for the house.
So how does that affect this variance request?
Well, I think I'd like to see the definition of remodel versus new construction. I don't have that in front of me. That being said, this sounds like it was a dynamic situation where, permits had already been issued. And if remodeling can go all the way up to the amount of work that's been done, apparently, then I don't know that it would necessarily change anything.
I mean, we were told that we could not consider it a remodel. It had to be new construction once we went over the 50% threshold. So that was semantics, we felt, but...
Well, we have survey reference points of the footprint of the home, right, based on the site plan. So that's
the intent, or the variance that we're asking for is to have no more encroachment than is shown on the site plan, which is the formerly existing footprint as of 45 minutes ago, I guess, of the structure. So you have a documented location of that encroachment into, and we're going to maintain that and not go beyond that encroachment.
And when was the demolition permit issued?
Last week.
Right after the DRB meeting. It was Tuesday, so it would have been Wednesday.
I guess I just would have thought that the demolition would have occurred after this variance, or, doesn't really make a difference.
So was the demolition permit specific to the outbuildings or to the main structure?
The original demolition permit was the outbuildings only, with the understanding that we were going to remodel the existing structure. So when the home inspections got to a certain point, the basement walls were concrete block, and they were at such a stage that they could not be used again to put a two-story structure on. At that time, we spoke with the city and determined that it would be a level of remodeling that would require a demolition permit, i.e. more than 50%. So at that time, we went before the DRB again and obtained a permit to remove the structure.
The house.
The house, the residence, as opposed to the prior. There was a greenhouse, a barn, and a tractor shed that were all within the stream buffers and impervious setbacks. That was our original DRB approval and city staff approval for the demolition. When we found the structural defects and it was going beyond what our original plan, strip off the bricks, go down to the basement walls, build on top. And then when that was not structurally feasible, then we were going through, and I guess something happened as far as the concrete slab, which, I wasn't out there. I'm not aware of what happened, but you can't build on a structurally unsound footprint. So
if he's building the same footprint, and actually in this case, it already has a basement, so he's really not disturbing any more earth. We've actually had cases where people have tried to do this, come in and then said, well, we're going to add a full basement, it's a slab, and then we want to add. In this case, there's really minimal amount of earthwork that I think he'd be doing, as long as he stays within the footprint of what's disturbed. Even if he demos it and they build within that same footprint and it's already a basement, there's really minimal amount of earth excavation work that would occur.
But to answer Ms. Hodges' question, the home, the existing home, was demolished with permit.
That's correct.
It was very similar, I guess, to the one last month on Darby Road where there was an existing residence and they were going to build back on it. And they worked to try to limit, I think it increased 10 or 15% beyond their original disturbance inside. So I guess this is more similar to that now than technically, in the semantics of the building code, remodel of an existing, once it's more than 50%, it can no longer technically be called a remodel, it's new construction. So that, and you lose your waiver of, I guess, grandfathering is, for lack of a better term. So, but that's...
Technically, it's still a remodel. It just has to be brought up to current code. I know it's crazy, but it's technically a remodel.
Yeah, we've got to
just
stay
be brought
within...
up to current code, so it wouldn't have the same application as a new house as far as impact fees and all, because it's considered a remodel.
Right.
But it has to be brought up to
increase our
current
impact
code.
beyond what the existing footprint of the structure was.
Other questions for the applicant? Okay, go ahead and take a seat and we'll see if there's any public comment. At this point, I'll open the floor for public comment. 10 minutes will be rendered to anyone wishing to speak in favor, followed by the same 10-minute allotment for anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on behalf of this application in favor? Seeing and hearing no public, is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this case? So at this point, Mr. Reese, you have an opportunity to make any closing comments and or address any additional questions from this board.
Just in summary, I think this is a situation where we had a residence that had lost its use through obsolescence. So we have an applicant that is moving on a larger tract of land. He's proposing a more than $1 million new residence here. So we are not increasing the disturbance inside or encroachment inside the setbacks for the stream. If you had seen the original demolition, not only are we staying within just the residential structure with our new construction, we have removed 3 other structures that were inside the impervious setback and the stream buffer. And that area will be returned to a native state, which will increase the stream water quality. So we feel like that we've demonstrated a hardship. It is an improvement for the city of Milton. I just don't know what else I can say. I will entertain any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Are there any final questions for the applicant before we close the public comment portion of the meeting?
Scott, just one question. The existing driveway will be removed. Is that what you just said?
No, I did not say that. And I'm not. In the earlier, we had said that we were going to change it to a pervious surface.
Okay.
So
I'm just not seeing it on the site plan, so I just want to make sure we note.
So that was the plan on the front end. I do know that we're having to use it to haul out dumpsters and other things there.
Okay, I just want to note it because it's not on the site plan anymore, and I just want to make sure that we
It will be-
understand that it's still going to remain.
Yes.
Okay.
The intent is to change it from a impervious to a pervious.
Now, there's two driveways. Are we talking about just the lower
This is
driveway
the
closer
lower,
to the stream?
the westernmost driveway is definitely going away. The one down on the low side will change from an impervious surface to a pervious surface.
So the existing driveway parallel to stream will be moved to, or changed to a pervious.
To a pervious. It's impervious now.
Right. We can make that clear as a condition. Any other questions before I close the public comment?
So where does that driveway go?
It is
I mean,
parallel to the stream on the,
The last plan had it right through here.
It's in that picture.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind.
I have a DRB, okay.
I think we said this is an old one.
Brenda. This is where it is.
Yeah.
Existing 10-foot
They're going to
line.
keep it right here.
So it's asphalt, they got to take it out and make it flash.
Parking. There's out right
Yeah,
here.
yeah. That'll be condition impervious.
Mr. Chair, in case you want to see it, it's on the old ones.
Yeah, yeah.
It would just be changed. I just want to make sure I'm not seeing it on the new one.
Well, I saw it in the rendering. That's
Yeah,
all.
that's
But
why
not
I
on the
asked,
site
'cause he
plan.
said yes to you on the rendering, but not on the plan. So I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody.
We'll
that-
make
okay, yeah.
conditions. Someone will. All right, any last questions? All right, I will note the public comment is closed, and I will open the floor for a motion and a second regarding case V19-001.
I'll motion to approve variance 19-001, 13725 Providence Road for addition and remodel an existing footprint with the condition that you do no more than what was existing in the addition, in the setback, and that the lower driveway remains impervious or becomes impervious.
Pervious.
Pervious, excuse me. The impervious driveway becomes pervious.
May I?
No, the meeting's closed.
Reference. We got it.
Well, I'm going to ask about that.
Pervious.
Okay, so per the revised site plan,
Dated.
April 12th, 2019. For approval. Did I say all that right?
Mostly. I will second and offer two amendments. One is that to provide a stormwater mitigation plan to be approved by the city staff would be one additional condition. Two is during the construction process that is outside of the allotted encroachment at the 50-foot buffer, a temporary fence will be maintained during the construction process to mitigate intrusion into the stream buffer.
There was also some discussion about just on any disturbed areas to make sure that they're resodded or replanted.
Thank you for reminding me. And to work with the city arborist on a replanting plan for any of the disturbed buffers. So I made three amendments. I will need a second in order for us to act on those.
And
Second?
Okay,
Yes, go ahead.
ready to vote? Are you ready to vote?
Well,
on the
I'll open it for
amendment?
discussion first, but yes. So just to restate, the amendments I'm offering with a second are to require conditions to provide a stormwater mitigation plan approved by the city staff, a replanting plan for the buffers to be approved by the city arborist. And then during the construction, 50-foot, at the 50-foot buffer, a temporary fence will be maintained to inhibit intrusion into the stream buffer. Is there any discussion on those three amendments? Yes.
If normally we make an approval per site plan and a dated, right? I just want to ask the board and the attorney that if the applicant comes in and does some minor modifications on the new addition that are not encroaching, but within the area he's allowed to build, is that going to be okay? I don't want to hold them to like the site plan and they do a minor modification if it's outside of the buffer area. In other words, if he changes the footprint slightly of the garage area and it's outside the buffer and he's within his right zone to, within the area he's allowed to build, if it just changes a little bit, is that okay? I just don't want to hold him to it just in case he modifies that configuration a little bit. I don't want to have to hold him to this particular site plan for an area that he's allowed to build in, or no?
I understand what you're trying to achieve. I don't know how to achieve that.
I think that's fine on the new, the new addition.
Yeah,
if there's
a minor, if it's
minor
like a major addition change, I could see it. But if it's just a minor configuration, I just want to ask the board.
So if he changes the arc of the driveway, for example, that's
right, or the footprint of that garage, say it doesn't match exactly that configuration, and it's slightly changed because the applicant hasn't really invested the money into doing the plans yet. So I'm asking how much flexibility I'll have when I review it.
Bob, do you know if this plan reflects that additional bedroom or the bedroom that may be removed? Do we know that from this site plan yet? From a footprint standpoint.
It's going to be a garage with a bedroom above, is what the applicant had seen.
Which may or may not be supported once they do their septic.
Which may
health department
be supported. But I guess my question is,
could you not put a square footage limit? In other words, if they adjust it all, they couldn't with more than 200 square feet or 100 square feet. That way, they have the ability to.
How much flexibility would I have, considering that the applicant really hasn't designed it, but they tried to put this box here. It's within the right zone. It's not in the buffers. But just in case, if we make it subject to an approved site plan, sometimes I'm just asking how much flexibility I'd have if he happens to move some of that stuff.
Let me run something past, especially the city attorney, to see what you think. If we added on to the revised site plan dated April 12th by Brumbelow and Reese, with allowable modifications outside of the buffers, according to the city architect.
That would be fine. And even if you wanted to, and this is a question for the architect and for the board,
have some flexibility.
You could address the existing structure separately as well, such that whatever new remodeled construction is done at the existing, where the prior residence was, that stays exactly per the April 12th plan, and then you could let the
new construction.
The new portion of the house, the new portion of new construction, have that little bit of wiggle room, flexibility.
I guess my concern here is it sounds like we got a couple of things that are not clear. And I don't know if I could personally support the motion, because number one, we didn't get an answer from the attorney on whether this truly, and notwithstanding what Bob said, okay, but the attorney did not answer the question whether this is a remodel or not. You said you didn't have it in front of you. My feeling is if we don't have an answer to that, we should go back and get an answer before we make a decision, okay? The second thing is I'm uncomfortable with this board approving basically to go forward without knowing what's going to end up on the site plan. Notwithstanding, again, we're talking minor. What's a minor? What's not a minor? I mean, we're doing something a little different here than approving just a variance. We're kind of approving the new site plan for the new addition, and maybe that's different than something that this board is normally responsible for. So it comes back to, say there's a problem. Did this board now approve something where we left the site plan indefinite, and it comes back and looks like, well, what did you guys do? So I have those two concerns. The one about the legal definition of this, what is it truly? Okay, and then the second part about approving this without everything on the site plan. So that's my concern with this motion.
Mr. Chair, if the board wishes, we could just approve it per the site plan, and I'll just hold them to that site plan.
Well, I'm looking back, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Looking back at the recommended conditions from staff, of which one of them we didn't identify, is the renovated house shall be the same footprint, I think is the right word, in location of the existing house within the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. Right. That's the intent, I think, of what you're saying is we need to hold them there, right. And then where you're looking for some allowances, perhaps, as the architecture plans evolve with the home in the angles of maybe or the size of the footprint of the things outside. I don't have a problem with that personally. I understand Mr. Kurt's concerns regarding item number 1, and maybe the city attorney can comment regarding.
Sure. I mean, regarding item number 1, certainly the spirit and intent of the variance is met. Whether so long as the construction is occurring on the exact footprint, that's what the variance was asking for, was for construction to occur within the floodplain. That's what they needed the variance for. So I think that the same considerations would be made whether we were talking about brand new construction in a place that had never been constructed upon or replacing a structure that was already there. So as far as the considerations that the board is being asked to make, those 4 factors, the impact to the stream, I think all of those things are the same. And so the semantics that we were talking about earlier about remodeling versus new construction, fact is it's being treated as new construction by the code. And if everything, and it sounds like everything, all the other conditions being met, this variance takes care of it either way.
I have a question. Maybe I've understood this incorrectly. It seems like the addition, right, and the driveway, none of that needs a variance. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So if they change it, it's kind of free for them to do that. Am I correct in understanding that?
You are. I just want to, when we say approved per site plan, I just want to make sure what I'm really focusing on is the existing that's intruding is staying the same, just like the city attorney mentioned. And if the new addition just happens to change slightly in configuration or something, it's still within the as of right area.
No changes can be done that would require additional variances.
That's correct.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
They're still going to have to stay within the existing building lines and stream buffer.
Right.
Right.
So they're limited, to your point, they're limited anyway. They're limited anyway. They're limited by the lines that are there anyway, the building lines and the stream buffer. So they can't tweak it much more than what we've already approved.
Change the arc of a driveway or something, I don't want to hold them to the site plan because it would be considered as of right anyway, and he'd be in compliance with all our rules. I think what we're really focusing on tonight is just the area that's intruding in, which is what the variance was really trying to address.
So if we introduce the condition this way, which is per the revised site plan, dating it to what we have in front of us, so as, item 1, the renovated house shall be the same footprint and location of the existing house within the 50-foot stream buffer. Item 2, allowable modifications outside the buffers with approval from the city architect.
That's correct. That's what
is that clear enough?
That would be fine. That'd be perfect.
Can I have a hard time with calling it a renovated or remodeled home. It's taken down to dirt. There's not a slab. If a slab had been left, I can see that maybe being, identified as a remodel or a renovation. This isn't a brand new construction. It may be on the same footprint, but I have a hard time saying, and I don't mind, approving the variance. Thank you. Yes. Something different will make me feel more comfortable.
Is that clear? If we say call it the former house?
Yes,
that's clear.
Don, does that make you any more or less comfortable?
I think with the attorney's response, I feel a little more comfortable, yeah. As long as that's the opinion, we're dealing with a variance to the former house, and we're not ruling on what the new house is going to look like. If that's satisfactory, I'm okay with that.
One of the things that I'll add overall is that we had some additional structures that were inside the buffer area, and the applicant has already removed those.
Right.
So there is some benefit from that as well. So
in addition to changing the driveway to a pervious structure, pervious surface, I should say, as another mitigation to the intrusion.
It almost seems, Todd, at this point, we almost need to kill the motion and start over.
Well, and that's a great point.
Restate the whole thing.
I'm going to withdraw my amendments, and I would ask that you do the same, and I can restate.
Okay. I'll withdraw my motion to approve.
Okay, is that good enough for Robert's rules?
Yeah, we wiped the slate clean.
All right.
So both the amendment was withdrawn, and then the main motion was withdrawn.
Right. And if you don't mind, since I took notes here.
I was just going to ask. Okay, go ahead. You want me to make the motion again?
I'll make it because I have notes.
Please.
All right. So in terms of case V19-001, would make a motion to approve Part 1 with conditions to allow the former house to encroach into the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. Those conditions are, 1, per the revised site plan stamped April 12th, 2019 by Brumbelow Reese and Associates Incorporated, so as, point 1, the former house shall be the same footprint and location of the existing house within the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. Item 2, allowable modifications outside the buffers with approval from the city architect. Second condition, during construction, the applicant shall maintain a temporary fence at the 50-foot buffer to manage construction intrusion into the stream. Item number, the third condition, replanting for buffers to be approved by the city arborist. Number 4, provide stormwater mitigation plan to be approved by the city staff. Number 5, the existing driveway parallel to the stream shall be changed to a pervious material. Do I have a second?
Second.
We're in discussion with a motion and a second. We feel we've addressed the discussion and encapsulated it in these conditions. Okay. With that, I need to address part 2, which is the recommended withdrawal of the pool and the 50-foot stream buffer. How would you prefer I did that? Can I add on to my motion?
Sure.
Second part of the variance, to allow a pool inside of the 50-foot stream buffer and the 75-foot impervious setback. This board recommends withdrawal and accepts withdrawal from the applicant. Any discussion on that? Okay.
I'm sorry, but before you vote, just so that I'm clear, at the beginning of the motion, the conditions you listed when you addressed the former residents, can you restate that one more time? I just want to make sure that it's clear that
per the site plan, that portion of it?
Yeah, that the construction can occur where the residence was.
So per the site plan, so as item number 1, the former house shall be the same footprint. Oh, I see what you're going.
The new house.
The proposed house would be the same as the former.
Yeah, the proposed, very good catch. The proposed
Renovation.
Building.
house shall be the same footprint and location of the former house within the 50-foot stream buffer. That's a good catch, a good change. Do I need to make any amendment in order to satisfy that?
if you're restating it.
So let me restate that entire condition. Per the revised site plan stamped April 12, 2019 by Brumbelow Reese and Associates Incorporated. So as item number 1, the proposed house shall be the same footprint and location of the former house within the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback. Item 2, allowable modifications outside the buffers with approval from the city architect, which doesn't bind them with the addition.
Right.
You good there?
I am, and when you have discussion, so long as everyone understands.
Yeah, is this board clear with that change? All right. So approval for part 1, accepting of withdrawal on part 2 for the pool, 5 conditions. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Against? Same. All right, the motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
That was a tricky.
Did a good job.
Next item on our agenda is consideration of appeals and secondary variances. Do we have any?
We do not.
Okay. Item number 8 was old business, which I don't believe we have any. We do have some new business, and that is election of a chair and a vice chair to serve the balance of 2019. So I'll need to open the floor for a motion starting with a chair, motion and a second, starting with chair.
I'll make a motion to nominate Todd Chernick. He's done a terrific job to the chair position.
I'll second.
Who wants to take credit for the second?
Me.
Brenda's got it. Okay, I would be more than happy to continue on serving in this capacity. So, is there any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor of Todd Chernick for chair for 2019, say aye.
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 All those against, motion passed unanimous. Second up would be then electing a vice chair who would serve in the capacity of the chair should I be absent. And I would make a motion for Haj Patel to serve as vice chair for 2019.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is any discussion?
I guess I just question, is Ken not desiring to do that again? Or?
He's having more difficulty with his work travel, and he was happy to step down from that.
Okay.
That's a conversation I've had with him.